Shaun. Shaun watched Sanem park in the back of his driveway. She hid her car off the street in fear of her parents discovering where she was. She got out of the car and walked up the long walkway that led to the back door. He held it open for her. "Thank you so much for coming, Sanem. I really need to see you tonight," Shaun said. "Of course. What's wrong, Shaun?" Sanem asked, stepping into the house. Shaun took her small frame in his arms and hugged her close. "I'm sad. I'm very sad right now," he said. "Why are you sad, Shaun? Is it about your book?" Sanem asked. "Yes. I didn't know who else to talk to. It's just so heavy. I have to see Caleb in the morning. He'll help me sort all this out." "Let's go upstairs," Shaun said. He led her upstairs and into his room. He watched her stretch out onto his bed in her conservative pajamas, as if they were still a loving, comfortable couple. She looked at him, her eyes full of concern. "Come here," she said. Shaun went to her. He embraced her again on his bed. Her body felt so good against his. He felt so tired. "I'm so glad you came. I really needed to see you." "What happened, Shaun?" Sanem asked urgently. Joe broke my heart. Joe absolutely broke my heart. I didn't see it coming. I interviewed him tonight, and I'm shocked by what he said," Shaun said. "What did he say? What did he tell you?" "He's not a bad person. He looks at YFC as his family. He doesn't do it on purpose. He thinks that we're all on the same page. He thought that we all looked at each other as close friends, but we don't. He didn't know that Richard hated him, or that I hated him. He thought everyone loved each other. He had no idea what he had done." "But what did he do?" Sanem asked. Shaun searched for the right words. "He didn't monitor himself. He never monitored himself around us because he thought that when he came to us he could just be his cocky, pretentious, egotistical self. He thought the group was designed for everyone to come together and relax and stop faking like we do in the outside world. He's cocky, and he has an ego, and he has competition in him, but he's always looked at us as brothers. This is the worst realization in the world." "Why?" "Because I feel so horrible. I sat through that whole thing thinking about what a disgusting friend I've been to him all this time. The things I've said about him behind his back. I never addressed them to his face. The things Rich and I thought about him. That he was an asshole who only thought of himself. I never tried to talk to him. I feel so much weight on my chest." Sanem nuzzled his cheek with her nose. "I told you I could tell Joe cared about you. Didn't I tell you that after the 4th of July party? I saw it. You think your best friend is Richard, but I think Joe cares more about you than Richard does. I'm sure of it. I don't even know anymore. I really don't. He said he understood why I get so moody and irritable because I'm not happy with my life right now. He said he accepts it and that he's glad that he can be there for me to be myself around and not hide it. And I told him what I thought of him over this whole 2 years, and he forgave me. I feel horrible, Sanem. And Richard is trying to get away from him. He hates Joe. He hates Joe even more than I hate Joe. What am I going to do? I feel such a responsibility now. This was supposed to be a book about fame and shit, but now everything's changed. I have to save this friendship." "That's not your responsibility to, Shaun. It's up to Joe and Richard to fix their own friendship," Sanem said. "But Richard doesn't know. I have to tell him. I'm seeing him tomorrow for his interview. I don't know. I'm scared. I feel so much responsibility. What if I can't save it, Sanem? Do you think I can?" "Of course you can, Shaun, but you don't have to. This isn't your problem. Don't you think you have enough going on in your life right now to focus on the issues between your friends? You should focus on being the best friend you can be to both of them and let them work it out by themselves." Shaun grit his teeth and shook his head determinedly. "I can't do that. I have to fix it. It's my responsibility. I'm to blame." "But why, Shaun? Why is it your fault?" "Because I've known the whole time. I knew how Rich felt about Joe, and I never did anything about it. I have to make things right. I have to save it. It'll save me. If I save them, it'll save me." Sanem sighed and smiled at Shaun. He looked at her confused. "Ugh, Shaun. Why can't more people be like you? You're such a good person," she said. He looked at her. He couldn't believe those words were coming out of her mouth, after everything he had put her through. He kissed her on the lips and put as much love into it as he could muster. He backed away from her slightly. "Sanem, thank you so much for saying that. That means a lot. Thank you for coming. Thank you for everything. Oh my God, this is going to be a fantastic book if I do this correctly. Richard is going to kill me tomorrow." "Why will he kill you?" Sanem asked. "The hate. His hate for Joe. Oh my gosh, he hates him so much. I just hope it's not too late. I really do. Let's not talk about it anymore. Let's have sex and fall asleep in each other's arms. I'm sorry I'm so horrible to you. I think you're amazing, Shaun said, looking into Sam's eyes. She giggled. You are so fucking bipolar I can't handle it. Caleb? Caleb, I've got to see you today. As soon as possible. It's really important. Are you available now? Shaun was already in the car, driving to Caleb's house. Sure, man. I'm eating, but you can come over, Caleb replied. Okay, I'll be there in 2 minutes, Shaun said. Okay, man. Bye. Caleb hung up the phone. Shaun arrived at Caleb's apartment complex. He called him while he stood outside his door waiting impatiently. I'm out front, Caleb. He tried to sound calm. Caleb came outside 2 minutes later in flip-flops, a blue tank top, and a bowl of what looked to be oatmeal in his hand. What are you eating? Shaun asked. Oatmeal and apple cider, Caleb said in a monotone voice. God damn it, Caleb. You're so different. I had to see you today, Shaun said. Why, what's up? Caleb asked. He stuck his spoon into the bowl and took a mouthful of the oatmeal. Shaun watched him chew complacently. He shook his head. Focus. It's the book. You have to help me. I interviewed Joe last night. I found out some shit that I didn't know that I was going to find out. Can we go somewhere and talk for a bit? Does this complex have any benches or anything like that? A park? He asked. I don't know, Caleb said. He took another spoonful and ate it. How do you not know? You live here, Shaun asked, feeling agitated. Caleb shrugged. Maybe because I've never taken the time to explore this place. Maybe because I've never felt the need to find a nice quiet park bench to sit under and have a sincere conversation with a friend. Shaun sighed. Let's go to Smithville. We don't have much time. I have work in 2 hours, but we have to have this conversation. Caleb followed Shaun into his car. Shaun was quiet for the drive over to Smithville Park. He didn't want to start talking until he could sit down and look at Caleb's face. He chose not to bring his book of notes. He wondered if he would regret that. They arrived at the location within 5 minutes. Caleb had finished his bowl of oatmeal and left the empty container in Shaun's car. Shaun looked around searchingly for a nice spot to sit. He spotted a large picnic table that was uninhabited. No one was around. He chose that one. Caleb walked complacently behind him with a slow and steady gait, one full of certainty and casualness at the same time. Shaun sat at the center of the table. He put his feet on the bench beneath him. Caleb followed suit. So, how are you doing, Caleb? I haven't seen you in a while, Shaun said. I'm good. I just got into this long conversation with my girlfriend about sex that I would have rather not have had if I could have avoided it, Caleb said. Oh yeah? Why is that? Shaun asked. Well, basically, the other day we had sex and it was one of those times that it lasted for 2 hours. Today she told me how much she enjoyed it and how she wishes we could do that all the time. To which I told her that I'm glad that she enjoyed it, but that it doesn't really do much for me. She asked me why, and I told her I never really understood the point of elongated sex. I don't really like sex in any sense other than that the initial purpose of the act, which is to elicit an orgasm. I can achieve that on my own through masturbation, so sex has become rather tedious to me in any regard. Then she got worried that I didn't enjoy it, so I had to further explain to her that the physical pleasure of sex was enjoyable enough for me, but that I just felt that it's such a huge waste of time. 2 hours spent on sex feels almost like a sin because I think of everything else I could have done with that time, Caleb said. Shaun shivered. Fuck you, man. God, fuck. We're not here to talk about your strange, smart guy idiosyncrasies. You're a side character in this story. I'm trying to wrap up the loose ends. Can we please focus on why we're here? Maybe next time don't ask me how I've been if you don't want to hear about it, Caleb said, smiling. Thanks for the tip. Okay, now I'd like us to focus. I talked to Joe last night and I'm seeing Richard tonight. I wanted to talk to you before I saw Richard. There are some things I want to clear up with you first. I don't know how this happened, but it appears that you've become a huge part of this story, Shaun said. Caleb laughed. Is that so? Please elaborate, he said. Well, both Chris and Joe both feel threatened by you, but it's not a physical intimidation that they feel. They are threatened by the fact that you're the closest thing there is to destroying this group, Shaun said. Are you saying that it hasn't already been destroyed? Caleb asked. Okay, let me start from the beginning. I spoke to Joe last night, and I honestly ended that interview feeling like the biggest piece of shit in the entire world. He's not the person me and Rich had made him out to be. I found out that he's extremely family-oriented and that he looks at YFC as his brothers for all intents and purposes. He thought we all felt the same way about him, but he never bothered to clarify that. Too much projecting going on. Too much. He thought that just because he was becoming a better filmmaker, we were all getting better at the things we were doing as well. He wasn't aware of how badly Richard wanted to direct. He wasn't aware that he was slighting him every single time he gave a slight critique about one of the scripts Richard wrote. Rich has developed a thin skin when it comes to criticism. I don't know where it came from. I don't know where this lack of confidence came from, but it's there and he blames Joseph for it. That's the story. The story is of a friend hating another friend without him even knowing why. Now we have to talk about where you come in. What do you give Richard that makes him want to see you every day? Do you give him the confidence that we've apparently denied him all these years? Is that why he's trying so hard to abandon us? Shaun asked. How self-involved are you? Why do you think the entire world is revolving around you? Richard is not thinking of YFC. He's not consciously trying to abandon you guys. He has no interest in thinking of any of you. All he cares about is improving, Caleb said. And he's improving with you, Shaun asked. I think the difference between my relationship with Richard and the relationship he's had with you guys is pretty simple. I acknowledge him. I acknowledge his value, his worth, and that's what gives him confidence. He doesn't feel diminished when he's around me. He feels heightened, Caleb said. So he felt diminished when he was around us, Shaun asked. You should be able to answer that question. Think back to when the four of you were all in high school. Think of who the three of you were in contrast to Richard. He's seen you guys be mean and rude and obnoxious with your huge egos, and you get taken aback whenever Richard does anything remotely unlike him, which is speaking his mind. Joe's ego ballooned the moment everyone started acknowledging his directorial skills. All the film teachers and RV tech geeks stroked it enough to get him to the point that he thought he was the biggest deal in that school. Chris acquired a big ego just because of the fact that he happened to be more attractive than the other South Jerseyans he was going to school with. Basically, any white kid with muscles would stick out at that school. And Chris had muscles and long hair, so hot girls thought he was hot. The fact that he even had talent in front of the camera was overlooked by most of his fan base, which was young teenage girls who didn't really know what talent or quality was. They just knew that Chris looked like Zac Efron. So there's his confidence. And then we move on to you. Shaun Hunt. You were born with that ego. You inherited that ego. You happened to find acting as a medium to express it, but if it wasn't acting, you would have found something else to fill that void. You were meant to fill a large space, a stage, a podium, a widescreen. Your ego has always demanded that people look at you, and senior year you were happy because you were finally getting the attention you knew that you deserved. But what about Richard? Richard, who of all of you referred to as Richie Boy, boy being the key word. He's been surrounded by three enormous egos for his entire adult life, and now that he's getting some confidence of his own, it's a huge deal. When someone spits in Richard's face and he curses you out for it, the whole world comes to an end. Or heaven forbid, he calls one of you guys out for being an asshole and not liking it. Even now, the way you refer to Richard being stolen by me, as if he's some type of pet, shows the nature of the relationship that he's been trying to get away from him. I give Richard the chance to stand on his own 2 feet. I tell him that I believe in his capabilities. I don't put my hand on his back and give him pep talks over and over about how he's better than Joe or that he's going to be the greatest filmmaker in the world. I don't coddle him. I simply tell him that I have faith in his ability. How many times have any of you three ever said that to him? How many times have any of you taken time out of the stroking of your own individual egos to tell Richard that he was doing a great job editing or acting? Nobody was telling him that besides his parents. Girls weren't interested in him because he's short and his features are unimpressive. Joe took all the credit for the ideas, so the tech geeks and teachers didn't know to give Rich any recognition. And you wonder why he wants to spend more time with someone who encourages him. I'm not the bad guy. I'm just the guy who said yes instead of no. You're not the bad guy, Shaun repeated slowly. I know you're not the bad guy. And you make a lot of sense. It's not your fault. I mean, it kind of is your fault. He's becoming a huge asshole to all of us, but I understand what you're saying, Shaun smiled. He was excited. He could feel it in his entire body. We're getting somewhere, Caleb. I feel like we're getting closer to the end. Or the beginning. I don't know. I know who you are, Caleb. You're a good person. You're one of the best people I know. Make sure your audience understands that when you publish this edifice of a book, Caleb said sarcastically. Oh, don't worry, man. They'll like you. Everyone will like you. I'll make sure of that. They might hate me, but no one will be able to argue that you're a positive influence in both me and Richard's lives, Shaun said. We'll see when the New York Times review comes out, Caleb said with a smile. I'm really happy this happened. It takes a tremendous load off my chest finding out the problem between Joe and Richard, Shaun said. Why is that, Caleb asked. Because it's my saving grace. I do all these horrible things throughout the book, but at the end, I get to save a friendship. I get to save the group. I'll be known as the savior. I'll be redeemed at the end in the public's eye, Shaun said. Caleb laughed. I don't think it works that way. I hate to break it to you, he said. Why doesn't it work that way? Shaun asked crossly. Saviors don't normally celebrate about the fact that they'll be known in history as a savior. They're usually an altruistic purpose that comes along with being a savior. I've never heard of one that does it just to be remembered in a positive light, Caleb said. Shaun frowned. I could be the first, he asked hopefully. Caleb smiled. How about you just write the book, let the world remember you however they'd fucking like. Focus on being true to each character. Focus on writing something good. Let the public do the rest, Caleb said. And if the public hates me? Shaun asked. Then you'll probably be more famous. Everyone loves a good villain. You'll sell more copies that way. Caleb slapped Shaun on the back and grinned. If I die, promise you won't let anyone give my eulogy besides you. You're the only one who understands me, Caleb. Can we stay friends forever and you give me my eulogy when I die? Shaun asked. Sure, Shaun. Whatever you say, Caleb said. Shaun looked away. He felt fear. He felt excitement. The summer breeze kissed his skin. He felt alive. This is going to change my life, Shaun said quietly. Get it published and it probably will, Caleb agreed. Are you seeing Richard today? Shaun asked. Yes, we're supposed to work out together in an hour. Why? Caleb asked. Could you not tell him about my interview with Joe? I don't want it to change anything he says tonight. One more thing. What do you know about the 16-year-old? Richard. Richard sat on the floor against the wall of Caleb's bedroom. He felt sweat accumulating on his brow. He wore a heavy sweatshirt. He looked down and watched himself flex his toes in his Vibram 5 Fingers workout shoes. He steadied his breathing. You're in control of your body. Master your body. He took a slow intake of breath and exhaled at the same pace. He nodded his head in silent satisfaction. Caleb's head was poking out on the other side of his slightly open door. Richard could see his prominent calf muscles strain to keep his muscular body balanced as he leaned against the door and talked to his girlfriend Rachel. Rich couldn't see her body, just her head. They were talking about something private. They both spoke in a low whisper. When they had finished, Caleb opened the door wider, allowing Rachel's entire appearance to be seen. Nice to see you again, Richard. You two have fun, she said with a pretty smile on her face. Nice seeing you, Rachel, Rich said. Her hands grasped at Caleb's torso as she pulled on his white tank top. Rich saw how they lingered on his tight stomach lustfully. She kissed him. Caleb's hands were still planted on the door and the wall to give himself support. She pulled him closer and pressed her face into his. Her hands found his back. Rich saw her claw at his wing-like lats. His triceps bulged from his fully extended arms. Finally, she pulled away. She looked lovingly into Caleb's eyes. Goodbye, she whispered and walked away. Caleb closed the door and turned to Richard. Sorry about that. We had to clear something up, he said. Rich looked at the ground and nodded his head. It's cool, he said. Caleb took a seat on his bed. He stretched his legs out. Good workout. I'm proud of the way you'll be leaving me when you go back to New York. You've exceeded my expectations, Caleb said. Really? Rich asked. Definitely. If you think about what you were capable of when we first started to what you can achieve with only 2 months of working out under your belt, you'd be proud of yourself as well. You've done an awesome job. I just hope that you keep it up when you move back to New York, Caleb said. I hope so too. The gyms up there are expensive as fuck though, so I might have to come up with an alternative. My 90-pound forearm grips came in the mail today, so I'm pretty stoked about that. I'm looking into buying some elastic bands just so I can do some workouts at home if I can't find anything else, Rich said. Makes sense. I'm a fan of elastic bands when I have nothing else at my disposal. Feel free to call me if you want to go over some workout routines or anything. You're not leaving tomorrow though, so I can show you some in the next couple of weeks, Caleb said. Would you? That'd be awesome. I've actually been thinking about joining a boxing gym instead of a fitness center. If they come out to be the same price or if the boxing gym is cheaper, I think I'd rather go that route, Rich said. That would be fantastic. I love organized violence, Caleb grinned. Let me know if that happens. I would travel up to New York literally just to go to that gym with you and work out there. There are no decent boxing gyms in this area. The closest place that I could go would be in Philly, and I don't have the money to make that kind of commute back and forth every day. I'm telling you, once the issue of money has been eradicated from my life, I will quickly become the happiest person on the planet, Caleb said. I believe you, man. I'm a little annoyed because the guy I was supposed to move in with backed out, so now I have to apply for in-school housing, which is something I was trying to avoid, Rich said. Sucks, man. Be thankful for your parents, Caleb said. Yeah, I'd be fucked if I was doing this on my own, Rich said. Especially with your ice cream shop wage, Caleb said, grinning. Well, I guess I'll go home and take a shower. I have work at 5 and then I have to do Shaun's interview later, Rich said. Yes, should be quite interesting, Caleb said. Have you talked to him about it? Rich asked. I saw him earlier today. He's quite excited for it, Caleb said. Yeah? What did he say about it? Rich asked. Just that he's learned something he didn't anticipate from both Chris and Joe, and he looks forward to what he'll learn from you, Caleb said. Rich laughed to himself. Okay, we'll see what happens. What did Joe say in his interview that Shaun didn't expect? He asked me not to say. I'm sure he'll tell you tonight, Caleb said. In Christopher's interview, they agreed that I might have a Napoleonic complex. That's what Shaun told me. I won't be surprised if Joe said worse shit than that. I'm glad I get to set the record straight about who the fuck I am, Rich said. Caleb nodded his head. It's always fun to be understood. I've always made it a goal of mine to be perceived by people the exact way that I intended to be. Everything I do has been meticulously thought out. The way I walk in a crowded area, as if I'm liable enough to fling someone across the room if they were to step in my path. The way I sit, with my feet planted firmly apart and my hands laid out in front of me on my lap. It's all open. Nothing is closed. I show the world that I have nothing to hide. All of my mannerisms have been consciously addressed, and I'm happy with the way it all turned out, Caleb said. Yeah, I'm trying to do the same thing. There's too many things I dislike about myself, Rich said. Well, you have the ability to change those things. Take solace in that fact, Caleb said. He leaned his head against the wall and closed his eyes. Rich looked at him. He watched how calm Caleb was, how content he looked in that moment. Rich felt envy towards him. I can get there. I will get there. What are you doing after this? Gina asked. I'm going to hang out with a friend. Why? Rich asked. He came off more irritated than he intended. I was just asking. I'm not allowed to ask what you're doing after work? She snapped back at him. Rich leaned against the freezer behind him and stared up at the clock. 9 o'clock was approaching. 10 minutes. Richard had to survive for another 10 minutes. It had become a battle of wills between Gina and him. He didn't know if Gina was aware of the struggle she had taken part in, but Richard had grown tired of losing. He couldn't do it anymore. He was trying to get back in control of his life. He would be leaving for New York in a couple of weeks. He wasn't going to date her and be in a long-term relationship. He swore to himself that he wouldn't let that happen no matter how hard she might beg. Richard, Gina said in a quiet whisper. Rich looked over at her. She was standing at the far end of the small kitchen out of sight of the large window that passersby often used to look into and stare at the two of them. She was in the dark corner staring at him. They were alone. Richard, she said again. Her voice sounded longing. He grit his teeth and closed his eyes. You're in control. You're in control. He opened his eyes. What? He asked, his voice strained. Please come here, she said pleadingly. Rich took a step towards her. Then another one. Then another one. She waited for him there, in the darkest corner of the kitchen. His feet brought him to her. He was standing in front of her, a foot away. What? He asked again. He looked at her face. She bit her lower lip in the same seductive way that was shamefully plastered on the background of his phone screen. Her lips. She knew how much he liked her lips. She gave a small smile as she looked up into Richard's eyes, looking like an innocent little girl. What is it? Richard asked. I'm going to miss you when you're gone, she said. She leaned forward. Her lips were centimeters away from his. When she spoke again, he could feel her warm breath enter his slightly open mouth. I'm going to miss you so much. She kissed him. Rich let her. He closed his eyes and let her tongue explore the inside of his mouth. His heart was hammering against his chest. Larry was going to walk in any minute to close the shop. She didn't care. She pulled on his shirt, forcing him towards her. Her lips were locked into his. His erection rubbed against her pelvis. He knew she felt it. There was no way she couldn't have felt it. She broke away from him and whispered into his ear. How bad do you want me, Richard? Tell me how bad, she asked breathlessly. I want you very badly, Rich said firmly. He grit his teeth. He was losing again. He knew it. He couldn't help himself. I've been thinking about how bad I want you inside of me, Gina moaned in his ear. Rich winced. He felt his dick twitch. He thought he almost ejaculated. We can't do it right now. Larry's going to come in any minute. He was panicking. He heard the door open behind him. He broke away from her and jetted into the bathroom next to her. He slammed the door behind him. He backed against the wall, feeling nothing short of absolute terror. He heard Gina's voice. It was calm as she spoke to Larry. He heard laughing from him. Richard's rapid breathing subsided. I think it's okay. He took in a deep breath. He leaned forward and put his hands on his knees and exhaled. Caleb had taught him how to breathe over the summer. In and out. Controlled. In and out. Control your breathing. That's the first step to controlling yourself. That's what Caleb had taught him. Control your breathing. He stayed there for a moment, slowing his breath and his heart rate. He straightened himself up. Richard walked over to the toilet and flushed it. He turned on the sink and washed his hands. He splashed cold water on his face and looked at himself in the mirror. He grabbed a paper towel and dried himself. He left the bathroom. I was just telling Gina you two are good to go. I'll see you tomorrow, Larry said. He was busy fumbling with the cash register. See you later, Larry, Richard said. He walked straight past him and out the door. Gina was standing outside waiting for Rich. Her black polo shirt was already off. He took one look at her, turned away from her, and strode quickly to his car. He heard her say something as he walked away. She called after him. Richard was already across the street. He was running from her. He got into his car, which was parked on the far intersection. He didn't look in his rearview mirror. He was afraid to see her chasing after him. He wouldn't be able to handle that. Rich started the car and drove off without another moment's hesitation. When he got home, he darted up the stairs and into his room. He closed the door behind him and snatched his laptop from off his desk. A half-written script was still open on the screen. He exited out of that. Tan, big tits. Eva Angelina was good. Carmela Bing was better. He found her on the first porn site he went to. She even looked like her. Rich didn't know how he felt about that, but he chose to ignore it. His pants were at his ankles. He didn't bother kicking his shoes off. He lay on top of his neatly made bed. Carmela Bing looked just like an older Gina. She bit her lips the same way as her. They had the same shaped lips. He watched those lips enclose around a man's cock while she sat on her knees, breasts out, looking up at the man towering over her. Richard took a long shower afterwards. He was to meet Shaun at his house at 10 o'clock. He had 30 minutes. When he got out of the shower, he grabbed his 90-pound forearm grips and squeezed the remaining energy into them. He talked to himself in his head. You won in this. At the end, you walked away. You still did it. Who else could have done that? She was begging for it, and you walked away and looked at porn. Good for you. His phone lit up with a text message from Gina. Asshole. He nodded his head. He didn't respond back. I am an asshole, Rich agreed with a feeling of satisfaction. He carried that thought with him as he pulled up in front of Shaun's house. Shaun was at the door waiting for him before Rich could even get his phone out to call him. He opened the screen door for Rich. You're always on time, Rich. You're the one person I know who always arrives precisely on time. Besides me, of course. Come in, he let Richard enter. They walked through the living room and out onto the screen porch. I'm thinking of changing the ending, Shaun said. Oh yeah? Rich asked. He took a seat at the table. You don't sit there. I sit there. You sit there. Everyone else sat in that seat. I'm trying to keep the semantics of it correct for when we get to do the TV show, Shaun said. Rich laughed and stood up and sat in the chair Shaun had indicated for him. Anyway, the original ending I had intended was when I was about to leave for California. I was going to get you all together and give this big speech about how I was going to save all of you individually and as a group. Rich snorted. Save me. The arrogance of this fuck. And I wasn't going to rest until all of us got the sequel that I know we all deserve. Now, the more I'm learning about you guys, the bigger the book is becoming, right before my very eyes. I think I'm just going to end it when I get to present time. Like, I'll be writing in past tense up until the point that I'm writing in present tense, and that's when I stop. Like, the last line could be something like, yesterday I wrote, today I'm writing, or something like that, Shaun said. Alright, that sounds pretty cool. It's a quiet ending. I dig it, Rich said. Yeah, I don't know. I think something like that would be cool. They don't have to know if I got to California or not. I wanted it to end on a happy note, but life isn't really all that happy. I want it to be truthful. I want the readers to think that failure might still come at the end of this. I don't know. Shaun's composition book was on the table. He opened and flipped through several pages. So, I hear Joe's interview went well, Rich said. Shaun looked at Rich and looked back down at his book. Yeah, it went on for a long time. I think it was 3 hours we were out here. It was ridiculous. Way better interview than Chris. The only thing that Chris told me was that he was a pothead, Shaun said. Yeah, what did Joe tell you? Rich asked curiously. I'd rather say that for the end of the interview, Shaun said. Why? You think it's going to change what I say about him? Did he say anything bad about me? Rich asked. I'm going to tell you what he said after the interview. Don't worry. I just want this to be unbiased, Shaun said. Rich shrugged and muttered under his breath. It won't be. He let it go. Shaun stretched his arms out in front of him, interlocking his fingers and cracking them. He smiled sheepishly. I'm stalling, he said. I know how long this is going to take. It's really draining. You'd be surprised how draining it is to put yourself into someone else's brain. 3 fucking times in the course of a week. 2 back to back. He shook his head. I can imagine. It sounds kind of cool, though. I wouldn't mind getting out of my brain every once in a while, Rich said. That shit definitely happened for me. It's exhausting. Anyway, I didn't bring you here to waste your time. Are you ready? Shaun asked. Rich sat up in his chair and straightened his back. He placed his hands on his lap and planted his feet firmly on the ground. He checked his breathing. He was in control. Sure, he said. Shaun gave a small smile. Okay, so, before we get into the heavy stuff, I think a huge segment of what I want to write about when it comes to you is your relationship with girls. You're the only member of YFC who doesn't have a girlfriend. As broad as you like, please explain to me your relationship with the opposite sex, he said. I've always felt that I don't have much in common with women. Every time I try to talk to them, I feel like they're speaking a different language than me. I don't really understand them. I don't know how their brains work, and I wish I did. As far as you guys all having girlfriends, I don't look at it like you guys are all better than me or anything like that. Every single one of your girlfriends was a virgin when you first started dating them. I'm the only guy who had actually had sex with a 27-year-old who was experienced with sex before me. I just think that's something interesting to point out. I know you guys probably walk around thinking about the fact that you're all better than me because I don't have a girlfriend, but I'm not preying on inexperienced girls who don't even know what good sex is and seducing them. I'm not saying I could even if I wanted to, I'm just saying I don't, Rich said. Shaun nodded his head. Very good point. Hannah is the 27-year-old you're referring to, correct? Yeah. Most of the girls that I've had sex with or could have had sex with have all been at least have been at least 4 or 5 years older than me, Rich said. How many times did you have sex with Hannah? Shaun asked. Once, I think, Rich said. How was it? Shaun asked. Rich watched him write something down. He tried to read what it said, but couldn't see over Shaun's hand. It seemed to Rich as if Shaun was actively trying to hide his notes. He ignored it. It was good. I actually thought of you when I was doing it just because of the way I did it, like with my hand on her throat and stuff. I'm not as violent or degrading as you, but whenever I have sex, I make it a point to have my presence known, Rich said. Okay. Do you like females? I mean, I know you like them, but in what way do you like them? Females frustrate me to no end. I hate that I need them. I hate that I need something from them. I think that's why they make me so angry, because I know how much I want something from them, Shaun said. I can understand that. For me, it's becoming more of a visual thing. It's getting to the point where I just like looking at them. I'm not really able to have conversations with them, but I think girls are attractive. So yeah, I like them. I'm aware of how I'll write a woman off if I find her unattractive. I'll just stop paying attention to anything she has to say, which is kind of messed up, Rich said. Shaun jotted something else down that Rich couldn't see. Okay, now I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Joe last night. Tell me about the lowest point in your life, the deepest hole that you've ever been in. Probably last semester in New York. There was a good chunk of my time where I was just super depressed. It was during my time at the MTV internship. I was just tired all the time. My sleeping schedule was way off. I would go to my internship, go home, sleep, and then go to class and then just stay up for the rest of the night. I felt really alone for that whole time period, like an intense loneliness. It got to the point where I actually felt physical pain in my chest. Like, it felt as if my ribs were tightening around my heart, Rich said. Wow, that sounds horrible. How long did this go on? Shaun asked. Probably like 2 or 3 months. It was just about all of spring semester, Rich said. The same semester that Joe moved in with you, Shaun said. Correct, Rich said. What were you like at the internship? Did you talk to anyone? Not really. I was really quiet. I kind of just kept to myself. Tell me about fall semester. How did you feel then? Fall semester was actually really good for me. Everything was new, and my roommates Travis and Jacob were taking me out all the time, which was cool. I had gotten really productive that semester as well, especially when Jacob got kicked out of my room. I was writing all the time, spec scripts for Archer, Always Sunny, Parks and Recreation, and a bunch of other stuff. So yeah, that was a good time period in my life, Rich said. What are your goals in life? I don't know where this urge came from, but the one desire that propels me is the concept of being a master of something. I've always wanted to be skilled at something. I think that I'm the type of person who can get good at anything from practice, and I'm aware of that fact. I've been searching for ways to get more confidence and drive to actually achieve that mastery. I really feel like I'm getting there with Caleb. He's helped a lot this summer. What about before the summer? What was your confidence level like then? Shit. I had uh, I had realized a long time ago that I was susceptible to failing at anything I attempted, and that frightened me. Shaun went back a page and read something and flipped back to the page he was on. Just so you know, these questions are kind of abrupt, but I promise you there's a method to my madness. Feel free to talk at length about any of the questions I ask you, though. Rich nodded his head in understanding. Got it, he said. Why do you feel the need to prove yourself? Shaun asked. Rich thought about the question for a moment. I think in the beginning, when I was in high school, and YFC first started getting successful, I started getting concerned with what other celebrities had done to get to where they are in life. After a while, I started hating the fact that I did that. I stopped comparing myself to idols. I'd rather pave my own road and than trying to follow someone else's life. I don't know if that answers your question. Why film? Rich took a breath. I grew up in a household where people were huge movie buffs. I haven't found anything I like more than film. I think that it's more engulfing than other forms of media. When I was young, I used to daydream about short films that I would create in my head while sitting in class. So, would you say that mastering film is your idea of success? Is that the only way you can feel happy with your life? I think there's more to it than that. I think if I mastered film and secured a place among the elite in that industry, I would definitely feel happy. I don't know how long it would last, though. Are you afraid of staying unhappy? Definitely. It's hard for me to deal with the idea of never achieving anything. I have a bunch of fears. Loneliness. I think that's a huge fear of mine. I've always looked at relationships as separate from success, but I'm pretty sure I need both in order to truly feel happy. And I don't mean a relationship with a girlfriend. I just mean relationships with other people. I think I'm not very good at that. It's something I'd like to get better at. Why do you think you're not very good with relationships? It's not that I think I'm bad with relationships. I just wish I could get along with more people. I think YFC kind of made me socially awkward. I feel like we all kind of alienated ourselves from the rest of the world and put ourselves on this pedestal of greatness. Every time we went to a party, we'd just be in some corner making jokes that nobody else understood, and I think that definitely affected me. Like I miss my I miss my chance to learn how to interact with people. Are there things about your personality that you are ashamed of? My anger. I think it's too readable. I wish I could hide my emotions better. I've never been good at that, especially my anger. I don't like how angry I come off sometimes. I'm also ashamed of how I was when I was younger. Just a huge dick in middle school. I lied and cheated all the time. I think karma kind of paid me back for it in high school when I ended up short and awkward. I think I was deserving of that awkward phase in my life. It's taken me a lot of time to forgive myself for the way I was back then, but I think I'm getting there. Do you feel like you're still a dick nowadays? I think I'm much better now. I try to be more cordial and dependable around people. When people ask me to do something, I try to help them to the best of my ability. Tell me about your awkward years in high school. I had gotten really quiet in high school. I went from being basically a bully in middle school to being a short, scrawny freshman in high school. I got really quiet and insecure because I was afraid of seniors picking on me. How did you feel when you became a senior, when Young Folks Comedy started? I didn't feel any better, if that's what you're asking. I didn't get more confident when YFC started getting popular. I always felt this sort of internal competition amongst the people in the group. You and Chris, me and Joe. I didn't really accept the popularity that came with it. I didn't think I could be funny outside of YFC, so I just stayed quiet. In all of my classes, people would start recognizing me from the videos and coming up to me and trying to talk, and I never lived up to the fame while you guys were. That's kind of cool if you think about it. Like you kind of downplayed the fame, Shaun said. Yeah, I definitely did. People knew who I was, but I didn't walk more confidently or anything like that. I would just watch you guys just eat it up, and I kind of just sat back and was a quiet one. I guess it was kind of cool. It was a cool role to play. The fact that I was kind of coupled with anonymity. Okay, how do you feel about your chances of success at this game? I would say I have a healthy delusion of my chances. I try my hardest not to think about the competition. I don't think anything comes from it. Nothing but negativity and doubt. I just try to keep my head down and stay focused. I don't worry about what everyone else is doing. How much ignoring of the outside world do you do? Shaun asked. Richard let out a soft chuckle. That's a good question. I'm starting to understand that I might care more about the social connections than I've previously allowed myself to believe. I've never wanted to acknowledge my feeling or urge to be with people, to feel part of something. Now that you're aware of that urge, why don't you do it more often? I feel like I'm just not good at it yet. I miss out on a lot of opportunities. I'm not good with social cues, like first kisses. I always miss the first kiss with a girl for some reason, except for Hannah, which is why I liked having sex with her so much, I guess. It felt like a natural experience as opposed to other females where it felt forced. Okay, tell me your opinion of Caleb, Shaun said. I respect Caleb. There's not many people I respect, but I'd say you and Caleb make it to that short list. I see Caleb as a sort of a teacher or mentor. He helps me achieve a lot of things I've always wanted to do, like working out and getting a better body. He teaches me the right way to do things and how to think about things in a certain way. We have the same interests, only he's a bit more elevated with his way at looking at things, which I admire. Could you elaborate on what he's teaching you to think? Okay, well, a good example is I've never liked the fact that I can't defend myself. I've always hated that. So Caleb's basically been teaching me how to take a hit and throw a punch and stuff like that. He said that a lot of it starts up in the brain. He talks about following through with the motion of a punch to executing and being confident in the strike. And I've been trying to apply that to other things in my life. That level of confidence. He's been teaching me to fight, Shaun repeated. Yeah, I believe I can hold my own in a fight now, whereas at the beginning of the summer I just felt short and small. Like anyone could walk up to me and kick my ass if they felt like it. I also respect the fact that Caleb survived the ghetto and that it hasn't scarred him in any serious way. He came from a rough past and he's still a normal guy with a hot girlfriend and stuff. You think Rachel is hot? Yeah, I think Rachel's hot, Rich said. How do you feel about the fact that Caleb got her? I understand it. I really like the relationship. The way she treats him as if she only cares about him and nobody else. She idolizes him and respects him. I like the way they communicate too. Like whenever something is wrong, they'll email each other throughout the day to talk about something that's been bothering them. I find that to be pretty mature. Would you have Rachel as a girlfriend in some hypothetical scenario where she's single and never dated Caleb? Yeah, I like her. I'm attracted to her. I think she's pretty smart. Pretty and smart. Like I've had conversations with her that are more interesting than conversations I've had with other females. Okay. You mentioned that you respected me. Why do you respect me, Richard? I respect that you did what you had to do with everything. Your life didn't turn out the way you had wanted it to, and you had to deal with that fact. You didn't want to work at the diner, but you did, and you moved out of your father's house with your brother on your own dime. I understand why it took so long to start taking BCC seriously because of all the shit that was going on in your life with your parents' divorce and everything. I also respect that you can deal with me. I appreciate that as well. You respect that I deal with you. Could you elaborate? Shaun asked. I just know that I'm sometimes a hard person to get along with. I'm moody from time to time, and I respect that you are able to handle it. My silence and my shitty energy. I've always appreciated the fact that you accept me for who I am. How do you feel about the way I treat women? I'll admit that a lot of times over the years while you were with Jess and Vince and them, I would get jealous of your girlfriends. If I wanted to hang out with you, I don't really have a problem with the way you treat women, though. I understand how frustrated you get with them. I actually think Joe is worse than you just in terms of the mental damage he inflicts on them. Like he calls Jennifer Gumby to her face because of her teeth to gum ratio. I think that's worse than what you do. I think you're just more in tune with what you want, which is the animalistic aspect of sex. I think you get off on dominating women, and I can get behind that. I don't really have an interest in doing the things that you've done to women, but I'm curious as to how you accomplish it. Like, how do you get girls to do whatever you ask them to? Hate. Girls respond to hate. They'll do whatever you want if you hate them. If you love them, they'll walk all over you. It's a sad but very true fact. I didn't want to have to learn it. I'm good at giving girls hate. I'm starting to learn that as well. It's pretty fucked up, but it might be true, Rich said. Okay, so we're going to move back to YC. The question is, let's say you got successful after college and you were in a position where you could help the members of YC get successful as well. Would you? Rich hesitated. I would definitely help some of the members out, he said. Who would you help? Shaun asked. I'd help you, Chris, and Caleb if I ever got successful. No, Joe? I don't particularly want to help Joe. I don't think he does enough for himself to warrant help from me. I think his ego's too big for him to actually apply himself towards anything. Plus, he's always made me feel like I was silently competing against him every time we tried to film something. I've always felt that the person who does more work is the person who's supposed to get the job. That would be me in this situation. I'm the one who went out looking for internships, and I was accepted to three out of three of the ones that I applied for. Joe didn't do anything. He does the bare minimum for his success, so I don't really see why I should help him. Plus, at the end of the day, he's extremely ungrateful and takes things for granted. He's just kind of a dick, unlike you and Chris. Tell me some ways that he's a dick, Shaun said. His eyes were concentrated on the composition book in front of him. He didn't look up from it. When we were living together, he never once cleaned dishes or took out the trash. He never tried to help out in any way. He wouldn't clean the bathroom. It was always me or Travis who had to clean it. Joe has a way of manipulating people to get them to do what he wants, and I don't respect it at all. I think it's wrong what he does to people, and I just want to get away from it all. Do you think he's talented? A talented filmmaker? Rich shrugged. Yeah, I think he's talented. I just think he's extremely manipulative. I feel bad for the people he gets to film his shit like Chris and GT. Especially GT. That guy's like his little minion. He just tells him when and where, and GT does it. I don't even think Joe considers him a friend. GT just allows himself to be used by him. It's sickening. I've always hated the hierarchy of YFC. I hated being a part of it. What positive traits can you apply to Joe? I think Joe has good vision, but he lacks drive. His ego stops him from trying anything. It's too big for his own good. I think he finds solace in cheap jokes. Like the only reason he hangs out with us is because it's easy to get laughs. I think it's stupid and petty and to fuel your ego with people smoking weed around you and laughing at the stupid shit you say. I also think he clings to his old work too much. I think that's kind of loserish too. To always be talking about Tiger Boy or The Body even though they were both made fucking years ago. You're not like that, Shaun stated. No. I'm always looking to move forward and forget about the past. Unlike Joe, who's obsessed with his old work. I'm only focused on improving and getting better. How do you feel about the relationship Chris has with Joe? How they hang out all the time and go out on double dates? I feel that Joe only hangs out around Chris or any of us for that matter just so he doesn't feel like a loser. I'll be in New York and I'll watch Joe texting Chris just to keep him as a friend. And it sucks because I like Chris and I hate to see him be so manipulated by him. I've always thought that he's cool and calm and really talented. Joe just uses him as a tool whenever he wants to film something. What about Kyle from P&K? Is it more or less the same thing? I think the fact that they still keep in contact with each other is kind of ridiculous. I think Kyle kind of looks up to Joe in a way. I think they both kind of suck each other's dicks as far as ego stroking. Kyle looks at Joe as the leader of YFC. I'm positive of that, and that annoys me. And I definitely see Joe manipulating Kyle into getting a job out in California. I wish I could just call him up and tell him exactly what Joe's planning because he doesn't deserve any of that success. He did no work for it. How did you feel when Joe moved to New York after you did? I was really annoyed. I've been trying to stand on my own, and Joe got in the way of that again. I also thought it was kind of ridiculous that Joe had been bragging about the better film schools he had gotten into, but stooped to go to the new school. He's completely scared of meeting new people. I don't think he's ever going to go out to LA until he follows one of us there. How did you feel about being in Young Folks Comedy? You mentioned earlier that you wanted to feel a part of something. When did you stop wanting to be a part of this group? I think I wanted to start distancing myself from YFC when I started realizing that I wasn't allowed to do anything other than what Joe wanted to do. It was just stifling. I remember when I wrote 2 skits that I had really wanted to get done, Coffee Date and Mr. Salmon. I realized after like 2 weeks that they were never going to be filmed. It made me bitter. I used to contemplate deleting our YouTube account just to say fuck you to Joe. I really lost interest in any project he was trying to do, especially after the first pilot we filmed. I started becoming more focused on my own writing, and I was just waiting for a chance to do my own shit. Talk to me about No Haven. How did you feel when we filmed that? It was something that me and you created. Filming No Haven was definitely a very good experience. It felt really good writing it, even though it didn't come out as good as we had hoped. I think the experience was a valuable one, though, and it was finally something I had come up with that we were going to do. Do you think the project would have come out better if you had directed it instead of Joe? No. I don't think I had the necessary amount of experience that was required to film something of that scale. I admit that Joe was a better filmmaker at that point in time, but that's only because he literally had way more practice than I did. Do you resent him for keeping you away from getting that experience? I honestly do blame myself for not getting my work produced. I didn't want to do the manipulation that I watched Joe get so good at. I was unwilling to force people in the group to do what I wanted, mostly because I didn't want to be like Joe. We're almost done. I do the actual events of the year on a later date. Why did you delete the YFC videos? I had wanted to delete those videos for a long time. When I got the MTV internship, it gave me an incentive to get all of our shitty stuff off the internet. But for a long time, I didn't want to be known or associated with YFC. I've always thought the quality of our work could be better. I wanted to go in a different direction, which is why I get along with Caleb so well. We both want higher standards. We go over each script that we write at least 3 times. We come up with shot lists and storyboards. We memorize lines. These are the things that I was trying to get to happen in YFC, but nobody wanted to listen to me. An actual website. I wanted to ditch the name of YFC because it was affiliated with so much crappy work. I wanted a new name and new fans so people wouldn't remember us for the things we did in high school. Okay. Do you feel envy for the people who have what you want, like celebrities or directors? I used to, but not anymore. It's just emptiness or loneliness now. I think of how often I fucked up when it came to getting things that I wanted, like girls that I never talked to because I got too nervous or something. I feel disconnected from the world, like I don't feel anything. I hate social media because it shows that I can't relate to anyone. Why didn't you ever call me when you felt depressed in New York? Why didn't you ever tell your best friend? Because I felt like a bitch. I thought it was stupid, me being depressed. I thought it was immature and that it would be wrong of me to ask for help. I wanted to wallow in it for a while to see if would come out on the other side by myself. Do you think that I care about you? Do you think the members of YFC care about you? I don't think Joe cares about me. I think you and Chris care about me. Chris to an extent. I guess you could say I'm interested in what you guys think of me. I'll admit that YFC neglecting me and the shit that I was trying to get done has definitely shaped the way I am now, but I refuse to say it's a driving force or something like that. And by the way, I don't have a Napoleonic complex. Nobody likes to feel inferior. You guys made me feel inferior, and I wanted to get away from that. You and Chris thinking that stuff says more about what you think of me than who I actually am. Yes, I'm short, but it's something I've dealt with. Got it, Shaun said quietly. Why are you so mean to me? Why do you come off more angry at me than you do at Joe? Why do you curse at me? Rich shifted in his seat uncomfortably. I take advantage of the knowledge that some people won't leave me. I know it's a really shitty trait. I do the same thing to my dad. I treat you guys mean because I know you won't leave me. It's something I'm trying to stop doing. A couple more questions, Shaun said. Does Caleb represent anything to you, like a symbol of some attainable goal? I look at Caleb as a mirror. He mirrors my motivation and my drive. He helps with getting the things that I want done. I look at him as pretty much the antithesis of Young Folks Comedy. I love collaborating with him because it actually feels like a collaboration instead of people reading my shit and then throwing it in the trash behind my back. I like the efficiency and the productivity that I get when I'm with Caleb. We both have the same vision of bettering yourself as opposed to just thinking you're better. Like Joe, Shaun said. Exactly, Rich said. Are you family-oriented? No, I'm not. I don't feel like I belong to anything, which bothers me. I'm finally starting to feel close to people, finally. I feel close to you and Caleb and my father. Other than that, I don't feel anything towards anyone. Before I met you, I used to feel that my dad was the only person who cared about me. I used to have anxiety about losing him. I was terrified of him dying. Shaun took a deep breath and closed the book in front of him. One last question. I don't really have to ask, but I will anyway. One word. Joe? Friend or rival? Rival, definitely, Rich said. Okay, that about concludes our interview for tonight. I would love to have you come back at a later date to go over some of the more specific details of your life over the past year, especially in New York. Yeah, sure, man. Just let me know when you want to, Rich said. Okay, thanks, Shaun said. Rich stretched his arms out into the air and smiled. He settled down into his chair and rubbed his hands together. So, what did Joe say about me? He asked. He was prepared for the worst. Fuck him anyway, he thought. Shaun leaned forward slowly. His hands were flat on the surface of the stone table. He shivered. It's fucking cold out for a night in August, he said. Yeah. Are you going to tell me what he said? I won't get mad. I could give a fuck less. I'm just curious, that's all, Rich said. Rich stared at him. Shaun swallowed slowly. His lips went into his mouth and his eyes stared at the back of his hands. I feel extremely sad, Shaun said. Why? Rich asked, confused. Shaun chewed on the inside of his cheek. Joseph, I don't know how to say this. His voice cracked. One of his hands went to his mouth as his eyes landed on Richard with a look of complete shock across his face. Holy fuck. I think I'm about to cry. Rich was confused. He watched as Shaun removed his hand away from his mouth. He swallowed again as his eyes filled up with tears. What the fuck? Rich asked himself. Joe, I honestly don't know where to start. I can't believe I'm about to fucking cry in front of you. This is ridiculous. The first set of tears fell. Shaun's hands flew up again to his face in absolute awe of his own reaction. Joe didn't have anything bad to say about you. He managed to get out. His voice was trembling. Richard was petrified. He stayed in his seat not knowing what to do. He just sat and watched Shaun break down even further. It was a miscommunication, Shaun said. He didn't look at Richard. His eyes were directed at the ground. Rich thanked him for that. He wasn't aware of how we were neglecting you. He didn't know. He thought we were all growing and that we were all happy to be in the group. He looks at us as a family. Shaun closed his eyes on the last word as more tears rolled down his cheeks. Rich sat in his seat uncomfortably. His hands were in his pockets. He didn't know what to do with them. Shaun continued. He followed you to New York because he looked at you as a brother. He looked at all of us as brothers. I never knew how much we meant to him. I didn't pay attention. His fucking brother died, and he told me how he felt. He told me how he felt that he had lost 2 brothers that month, and I was just too busy thinking of my own unhappiness. Wow, Rich said quietly. I'm sorry. I'm probably making you so uncomfortable right now. I didn't know this was going to happen, but I was just listening to you this whole time, and I don't know. So I guess I look like a huge dick now, Rich said. Shaun shook his head. So did I. I felt the same way last night. It's my fault, Richard. He said it hurt him to watch you trying to pull away. He didn't understand why. He had no clue what he had done to you. It's my fucking fault. I was aware of everything. I was aware of how you felt that you were being neglected. I was aware of the fact that you wanted to direct more often than you did. It's my fault. A sob broke out from Shaun. I should have had you guys sit down. I should have hashed this out. I could have forced the system. You two could have swapped as directors for every other video. I could have addressed that. But I was too busy thinking about stupid shit. My own fucking stupid shit, and now this friendship is ruined. Shaun looked searchingly into Richard's eyes. Do you understand? Joe didn't know that we were unhappy with how things were going. He didn't know how unhappy you were with the setup. We never told him. I never forced that situation. We just talked behind his back about how much of a manipulator he was. I'm such a fucking asshole. His hand covered his mouth again as he broke into a fit of silent sobs. Each one shook his body fiercely. Richard took a hand out of his pocket and awkwardly leaned forward. He patted Shaun's elbow meekly. Hey man, it's going to be okay. It's not your fault, Rich mumbled. Shaun cried even harder at Richard's touch. He retracted his hand quickly. Whose fault is it? I know who you are. I've always known who you are. You don't speak up for yourself. I let Joe run over all of us, and I only cared so much because what was most important was that my ego was satisfied by getting my face on camera. It's my fault, Rich. I knew all the players involved, and I just didn't fucking care. I should have set rules, talked about each other's expectations, but I didn't. Because I'm a fucking horrible person. He buried his face in his arm crevice. I can't believe you're seeing this. I'm so sorry. You should probably go. The interview's over. So, like, does Joe hate me now? Rich asked. Shaun turned his head and looked at Richard full on. His eyes were red, but he managed to stop crying for a moment to face Rich. He doesn't hate you, Rich. He's just sad and worried that he might have lost a friendship over something he didn't even intend to do. He gets wrapped up in his projects, his passion, his film. He gets narrow-minded. He just didn't know, Shaun said solemnly. He blinked back more tears. His face looked like it was in pain, trying to hold back his wave of emotion in order to speak to Rich. Do you want me to go? Rich asked. Shaun nodded his head and stood up. Here, let me walk you out. Rich followed suit. He followed behind Shaun as he opened the door of the porch and led him through the house. Shaun stopped when he reached the front door and opened it for Richard. He stared at the door and mumbled. I'll see you later, Rich, he sniffled. Rich walked up. Hey, he said. I'm going to hug you. You need a hug. He put his arms around Shaun's waist. Shaun's arms enclosed around Richard's shoulder. Rich felt the length of Shaun's body shake as he broke back into racking sobs. I'm so sorry for doing this in front of you, Rich. I'm so sorry. I must look like such an idiot. I didn't know I cared so much. I've always looked at Joe and Chris as rude, inconsiderate, unprofessional assholes. I'm shocked to find out that I can cry for them. I didn't know that I looked at them as friends until right now. They broke apart from the hug. It's fine, man. Are you sure you're going to be okay? Rich asked, looking up at Shaun's tear-streaked face. Shaun nodded his head. Richard, he said, just promise me it's not too late. It's not too late, right? Richard had already opened the screen door and had stepped out into the night air. He looked back at Shaun. The sight of him almost made him cringe. He could only hold the gaze for seconds before he had to look away. When he spoke to the ground. No, it's not too late. Good. We can still fix this. It's not too late. Thank you. I'll see you later, Richie. I love you. I love you too, buddy. Rich closed the door behind him. Shaun. Shaun waited for the door to close before he lost it. He sank to the ground right in the spot that he stood in the hallway. He sobbed. He felt his ribs contract beneath his chest. The world was spinning around him. He could hardly see anything through his eyes. He tried to look in the direction of the stairs. Fear crept into him of being heard. He had to get upstairs. It took all his effort to push himself up onto his feet. As he climbed the steps, he kept one hand clamped on his mouth to keep the uncontrollable cries from escaping. His brother's light was on in his room. He pictured himself going into his room and curling up into a ball while his brother consoled him. My older brother, Shaun thought. But he wouldn't understand. He doesn't know about the book. He doesn't know about any of it. His phone was in his pocket. Sinem was only a phone call away. He might even be able to get her here within the next 40 minutes. He couldn't wait that long. His body was shaking. The sobs had to get out. He shut the door of his bedroom behind him. He walked into the adjacent bathroom and closed that door as well. He scrambled to turn the shower on, hoping it would be loud enough to mask the sound of him crying. The shower had spurted to life with Shaun erupting into a fit of loud sobs simultaneously. He stripped naked while crying. He stood in front of the toilet and peed while crying. He stepped into the shower. He felt the warm water against his back. His head rested against the wall. He pounded against it with his fists in anger and sadness. The image of Richard, rubbing his hands together and smiling, played over and over again in his head. It was Richard's face that brought on the episode, the way he had seemed so prepared to listen to the slanders that he had thought Joe had said about him. He welcomed it. He had smiled. Shaun couldn't stop thinking of his smile. And it's all my fault. Shaun's knees couldn't support his weight any longer. He collapsed onto the floor of the bathtub. He curled himself up into a ball and put his head in between his knees and continued to cry. Water ran all across his face and up his nose. He didn't care. He could hear a song in his head playing on repeat. Out of My League by Fits and the Tantrums. He had heard it earlier that day at work. He had liked it so much that he even wrote it down to save the name, and now it was playing in his head while he sobbed in the shower. Shaun almost laughed. For a second, he thought he actually did, but at that moment he couldn't distinguish a laugh from a cry. His fingers were digging into his legs as if the tighter he held himself, the sooner everything would return back to normal. This is going to be such a good scene for the book. He shook his head. A scene. It was a scene. He couldn't deny the irony of that moment. Himself at the bottom of a bathtub, crying his eyes out while an inappropriate song played loudly in his head on repeat. A perfect scene. He was excited to write it. He became aware of the things around him. His ass on the blue bath mat that he had bought from Bed Bath & Beyond. The see-through bath curtain brushing his right shoulder. Is this cliché enough for you? He was taking note of everything. The way he felt at that exact moment. The thoughts that were racing through his brain. Failure. He failed. Mistakes. Love. Hate. Richard's hate was what hurt him so much. Shaun was responsible for Richard's hate. Everything he had said during that interview, Shaun was responsible for. Everything. Richard's hate had mirrored his own only 2 days ago. The hate. His crying increased. You are out of my league, got my heartbeat racing. If I die, don't wake me, 'cause you are more than just a dream. He listened to the lyrics that no one else could hear. Shaun did laugh this time, through his tears. 'Cause you are more than just a dream, more than just a dream, more than just a dream. Fear crept into his body as realization hit him. What if they've never heard the song? What if the readers have never heard the song? Then they'll just be hearing words on a page. They won't understand the perfection of this cliche fucking scene. The thought saddened Shaun. He wanted them to understand how perfectly orchestrated it all was. Right out of a movie. Shaun the actor. He couldn't wait to play the scene again when some lucky TV network picked up the rights. Tell them to look it up, a voice in his head said. Tell them to look it up. They're already reading it. Look up the song. Tell them to look up the song by Fits and the Tantrums. Don't wait for the show. Look it up now. Tell them. Look it up. His voice came out in a moan. It was drowned out by the water constantly rushing past him. But he still managed to say the words. He was talking to his audience. My audience, you fucking asshole. There is no he. I'm talking to my audience. I'm a person. I'm not a character in a book. I'm sitting in a shower crying my fucking eyes out to not someone else. It's me. Tell them to look up the song. He was reluctant. He was aware of the internal struggle. He felt like a fool. They're going to think I'm crazy. That this book is about a crazy person. Shaun closed his eyes. Tell them! Look up the song, Out of My League by Fits and the Tantrums, Shaun said. It was still playing. He could still hear the chorus. There was still time. He didn't like holding himself. He wished for Sanem to be there in the shower with him. I wish for Sanem to be there in the shower with me, you fucking asshole. I can't do this, Shaun whispered. I whispered. It's not about the book. Fuck the book, my friends. I let down my friends, he said. Who let down your friends? I did. I let down my friends, he sobbed. Then who the fuck is he? It was understood. The realization was an undeniable one. Somewhere, not even a mile away, Richard was at his house thinking about the events of the night that had just transpired. Or maybe he wasn't. Maybe he had gone home and went straight to sleep. Maybe he didn't give a shit that he had just witnessed his friend have another nervous breakdown in front of him. Maybe he didn't care that Joe never had any intentions of exploiting or manipulating him. Maybe none of it had fazed him. It had fazed me.